What is up, guys? It's your favorite coaches, Coach DJ, back again with Coach Vu, and we're going to be talking about why you feel like you've hit a weight loss plateau, and we're going to break down exactly the most common struggles that people are facing, and also we're going to break down what weight is, just to make it clear for some people that are maybe feeling like they have hit a plateau, and this is a common struggle that my clients are facing and Kevin's clients are facing. So I wanted to provide you some value today. So with that being said, Kevin, tell them what's up, tell them how your day is, and also go over what we're going to be talking about in today's episode.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new episode of A Vision Includes You podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Vu. I'm an online fitness and mindset coach. Today, I am joined with Coach DJ. We have a brand new episode, and we're going to be talking about why you may have feel like you've hit a weight loss plateau. We've came up with the 5 most common reasons, and these are stories and also things that our clients tell us. Oh, Coach, I feel like I've hit a weight loss plateau. And we've identified these 5 common reasons why you might think that you're in a plateau, but you might not actually be in a plateau. So, DJ, let's talk about weight, because I think that oftentimes people think that they don't see the scale changing. They see that the scale is going up, for instance, and they feel like they're not making any progress. Can you clearly define what weight is and why just because the scale didn't move doesn't mean you're in a plateau?
Absolutely. So this is exactly one of the most misconceptualized ideas, that weight equals fat. Everyone thinks that if you gain weight, you gain fat. If you lost weight, you lost fat, which it doesn't actually necessarily mean that. So what is weight? So weight is comprised of, number one, your actual lean body mass. So lean body mass is your muscle, also your organs, and also all the, things that are not necessarily just fat, right? So it's your muscles, your organs, things of that matter. The other thing is your actual water weight. And water weight is why people can gain or lose weight anywhere from 1 to 5 pounds, even more, in a day, right? So that is why it's so confusing. And then there's also the weight from your skeletal bones. Okay, those are the 3 ways that weight is comprised of. Okay, so what you can't change your skeletal weight. You can't change the weight of your bones that much, right? Well, with strength training, maybe that's a different story, but typically you can't change that. So what are the 2 that's left? We know weight, water, is what makes your weight fluctuate the most. So when you gain weight, when you lose weight, it doesn't necessarily mean that you went further away from your goals. It doesn't necessarily mean you went closer to your goals. So we're going to go over what those things that actually make an impact on your weight. And obviously, weight with your muscle weighs weight. So a lot of times, this is also another thing that confuses people. If you gain weight, you might actually be gaining lean muscle mass or muscle tissue, and you muscle weighs weight. So you can't gain muscle without gaining weight. So
And there's a
we want
fourth
to
one.
clear up.
Fourth one, yes, the fourth one is actually fat, and obviously
Right,
we know
fat.
that. But yeah, what we're trying to get at is most of the time when we quote unquote gain weight, it's not actually fat gain. So again, it could be water weight, it could be you're
I,
building
I,
muscle,
I thought
and
you mentioned the fat.
yes, okay. So with that being said, DJ, what would you say are like the most common reasons why a lot of people think that they've quote unquote gained weight or plateaued?
Yeah. So number one is, this is what I preach all the time, is if you are not tracking your calories or macronutrients properly, right? So a lot of people don't actually know how much they're consuming. And to make it very clear, guys, the number one predictor on whether or not you're going to gain fat or lose fat is being in a caloric deficit. So if you are not in a caloric deficit, it is physiologically impossible to lose weight. It is like there's a law of thermodynamics, and we have to understand that this law applies to you and every single person in the world. It's not like, oh, I'm special, I have this, I have that. No, this applies to everyone. There might be a small 0.0000001% chance that you have this metabolic disease, that somehow calories don't count. But for the most part, it's not true. Okay. So with that understanding, a lot of people are not tracking their calories appropriately. They're not tracking their calories effectively. And so what ends up happening is that they think they're in a calorie deficit, when in reality, they don't know that that peanut butter scoop is actually 500 calories versus what actually 1 tablespoon of peanut butter actually is. A lot of people kind of just eyeball it, and they're not actually practicing tracking their calories appropriately. Another thing, for example, is people don't realize that oil, even though, oh, I use olive oil, it's so healthy. Great. But again, the law of thermodynamics, if you're putting a ton of olive oil, you're not taking into account 1 tablespoon of olive oil is around 100 calories. So you do that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you're already at 300 extra calories that you didn't account for. And as you guys probably heard us beat the dead horse with, 500 calories per day is typically how you lose 1 pound of fat per week. So if you do the math, the extra oil, the bigger scoop of peanut butter that maybe you're not taking account for, or the sauces that you're pouring on maybe your salads that you think is so healthy, are always going to be adding up to negate that calorie intake or that calorie deficit. So number one reason I would say is not tracking your calories, your macronutrients appropriately, or you're not tracking it actually to the point where you're actually in a calorie deficit. Anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, so definitely what DJ's almost like trying to insinuate is that oftentimes we underestimate how many calories we're actually consuming, right? We think that, oh, we're only eating, for example, 1,500 calories, just an arbitrary number. But because of all those, missed missed calories that we're accounting for, like for example, the peanut butter, the oils, the sauces, the dressings, all these things could add up to 1,000 calories. So because you think that you're only eating 1,500, you're actually eating over 2,500 calories, which is going to be taking you out of that deficit. So that's why it's very important that if you want to lose weight, if you are someone who's pursuing a weight loss goal, you have to understand macronutrients, you have to understand calories. And when you're tracking your calories and your macronutrients accurately, it's going to give you a bigger, estimation of how many calories you're actually consuming on a day-to-day basis. And the apps that me and DJ we recommend is using an app called MyFitnessPal. It's a free app that you can download on Google Play App Store. We're not sponsored by them or anything. You can literally download this app, invest in a food scale, start weighing out everything that you're consuming, and you're going to be surprised at like how many calories you're actually intaking. Like one tablespoon of peanut butter should be 90 calories, but if you're not measuring it out, again, it could be very well over 200, 300 calories that you're unaccounting for. So make sure that if you are someone who feels like you're in a weight loss plateau and you're only focusing on eating quote unquote healthy, make sure that you actually understand the calorie contents of the foods that you're actually consuming. Now let's get into number 2. DJ, let's take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. So number 2, this is what a lot of people neglect, and I made a few series on this, but one of the biggest reasons why you either have not been making progress in the gym is you're not getting enough sleep/rest. Okay, so a lot of people hyper focus on training as hard as possible. How many people can relate to this? You're training really hard. You feel like you're training pretty much every single day, and you feel like you're quote unquote eating healthy, and you're not making progress. Well, why? Because you don't actually make the progress on your body when you go in the gym. Let me explain. So the sleep and the rest, that's when your body actually is able to repair the muscle damage that you've applied in the gym. And that muscle damage is what signals to your body that it needs to adapt, it needs to tone up, which basically just means it needs to build muscle. And so when you rest, that is the time, that's the opportunity for your body to reap the benefits that you've just put your body through in the gym. Now, when you're not getting enough sleep, what's going to happen is there's disruption in your hormones, such as your testosterone. So this is obviously what's going to help you build your muscle. And then also on top of that, there are a ton of studies that show with a lack of sleep, anywhere from 5 to 6 hours only per night, your habits with eating are far less conducive with eating healthier options. You're basically going to be likely to choose more junk food. You're more likely to eat high caloric foods, such as your fast foods, cereal, things that are just really packed with calories, instead of going for your regular quote unquote diet. Not really diet, but what you eat on a day-to-day basis that's moving you towards your goals. So just with the lack of sleep, it disrupts so many things that you need to actually benefit from the workouts that you're doing, from the foods that you're eating. And so this is one of the biggest reasons why you probably hit a weight loss plateau. You're not focusing on the thing that's actually going to enable your body to adapt to change and also to repair itself. So my number one, number two takeaway from this is that you have to make sure that if you train hard, you need to recover just as hard.
Yeah, and also lack of sleep could also increase water retention as well. So if you wake
Mm,
up the next day and you find that your few pounds up, it's likely because you're not getting enough sleep. And another key reason why a lack of sleep could contribute to weight gain is what happens when you're staying up super late at night. Guess what? That's more opportunities for your body to get hungry and more opportunities for you to over snack or overeat on certain foods. So
mm.
for anyone who's like staying up super late, make sure that you're not reaching for like the bag of chips or any cravings that you have late at night. So just be very mindful, because I'd rather have you sleep for 8 hours instead of sleeping for 5 and using those extra 3 hours to consume extra calories. Now, getting into number three is not drinking enough water. So dehydration can cause kind of like false feelings of like hunger. It could lead to you overeating. And dehydration, again, when you are dehydrated, your body is going to hold on to that water weight. It's going to preserve that water because your body doesn't know when the next time you're going to be drinking water. And it's like, okay, this person's not drinking enough water. I'm just going to hold on to the existing water that's inside your body. So
Right.
oftentimes when you step on the scale and your body's dehydrated, you're going to see that you're a couple pounds a little bit heavier than what you previously were. So make sure that you are staying hydrated throughout the day so that your body is actually flushing out the fluids on a frequent basis. DJ, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, everything you said is number one. Like a lot of people don't drink more water is probably the easiest way to lose weight, which again, the water weight, because you do hold on to a ton of water weight. And just to throw in a specific example, I was on vacation, and on vacation, the climate is a little bit hotter. The humidity adds to you sweating, so you need a lot more water. And what ends up happening is you gain anywhere from 1 to 5 pounds of water weight while on vacation, typically on a tropical climate. And right now, I feel a little bit bloated. But with my understanding of water weight, I know that after a week, I'll be back to normal. Like I've done this repeatedly over and over and over and over. And every single time I lose all that weight back. Why? Because it's water weight, right? And so just with this alone, I think this is really going to help people understand that water weight is probably the number one thing that you gain over the weekend, if you don't see that weight going down significantly, it most likely is water weight being retained. And we talk about this a lot, but on top of that, there is a process that happens with fat loss. And the fat cells typically, what it does is before it actually shrinks, because you don't actually convert fat to muscle, guys, by the way, you don't convert your fat cells to muscle. Your fat cells shrink. And when they shrink, typically what happens, your body replaces those fat cells with water for a period of time. And then eventually, with over time, with continuous calorie deficit, they eventually shrink. And then you see that weight loss. And a lot of people don't realize this step, the step where when you shrink those fat cells from being in a calorie deficit, what ends up typically happening is water replaces that volume. A lot of people don't realize that. And so the only way to see that is to continue to stay in that calorie deficit. But what happens? People don't see the scale go down after a week, maybe 2 weeks. And then so you say, man, it's not working. I'm going to go back to eating whatever I want. And then they gain back that weight, right? So this is very important, guys. Water plays a huge role. And on top of that, when you're losing fat, you have to understand that your water weight will maintain your weight even though your fat cells have actually shrunk. And that takes you, again, to staying at the same weight. But typically, your body composition has still improved. So that's a big thing that a lot of people don't realize. And that's the reason why we tell you guys to stay consistent and not just focus on the scale. Now, with that being said, Kevin, let's go on to number 4. What is the number 4 reason why people feel like they hit a plateau?
Yes. And number 4 is pretty much everyone's going to be almost like taking this to heart. And that is, having stress in your life. And I'm not just talking about like, regular everyday stress. I'm talking about if you let that stress like compile up over time, chronic stress can lead to an increase in cortisol. And cortisol is a hormone which can lead to water retention, aka weight gain. So oftentimes cortisol, what is cortisol? So again, it's a stress hormone or commonly referred to as a stress hormone. it can lead to you overeating. It can lead to disrupting your sleep patterns. And for the above reasons, that could honestly play a big role in contributing to your weight gain. So when you have, like, for example, so much stress at home or so much stress at work, and you're leaving that unaccounted for, like you're not finding ways to like cope with that stress, over time, you're just going to be finding ways to cope with that, such as, overeating, maybe staying up later, maybe you're spending more time doing things that are not productive towards your goals. That's going to ultimately lead to weight gain. So don't leave stress unaccounted for when you are in a weight loss journey.
So that, yeah, stress plays a huge role. A lot of times we advise our clients to develop stress management techniques or better coping mechanisms. And one thing that I want to touch on is that sometimes people deal with their stress by eating. How many people have stress ate? Or how many people, when you find that hard day at work, a lot, and I hear this a lot, you're at the office, and at the office they offer like donuts and like whatever, cheese, cracker, break room. And every stressed out, where do you go? Straight to the break room, eat some snacks. You feel a short burst of a little bit dopamine rush. You feel a little bit good, and then you feel bad after, right? How many people do that? And the thing is, stress, it's like a positive feedback loop. So you feel more stressed as you were eating, right? Because it's not moving you towards your goals, but you're stressed out, so you eat it, and then after you're done eating it, you feel more stressed out because of the fact that you know that you shouldn't be doing that, right? So with this, guys, the biggest tip with this, you need to develop better coping mechanism, better stress management techniques. And like Kevin said, these, stress adds to weight gain, not only from the physiological effects of cortisol, but also the behavior components, also the things that you do when you're stressed. So you got to make sure that you're finding ways to better manage them, better cope with stress. And with that being said, the last and final reason why you feel like you've hit a plateau, it is not strength training, or maybe just focusing on cardio. So this is the number one things that me and Kevin preach about: strength training, strength training, strength training. And look, if you want to get better with your cardiovascular health, and if you want to, again, maybe you're a runner and you're was not to build muscle, or you don't want to improve your physique, that's totally fine. But you have to understand that improving your body composition, improving the way that your body looks, it's not going to happen through running. It's not going to happen through just cardio, because running typically does not provide your body the stimulus to build muscle, to strengthen, and to actually provide your body with a higher metabolism, because you have more muscle mass. And that is the biggest, I think, misconception when it comes to weight loss. Because in reality, people want to lose weight, but what do they really want? What do you guys really want? You want your bodies to look better. Let's be honest. You want your physique to look better. Everybody wants their physique to look better. And sometimes you can lose weight and you can look exactly the same. You can look like a smaller version, but still round, or whatever you want to call it. You still have the muffin top, still have the belly. Why? Because you're not changing the composition, your body composition, which is how much muscle you have in relation to how much fat you have. And that's what's more important. So, again, the reason why you have hit a plateau is because you're maybe focusing on cardio. And again, cardio does not provide you the stimulus for your body to actually change, adapt, tone up. And because it tones up and because you build more muscle, improves your metabolism, so you're actually able to eat more food, and there's all this cascade of effects that you're missing out on if you only focus on cardio exercise, which a lot of people do, right?
Yeah. So honestly, I'm pretty sure DJ literally hit the nail on the head. Like when you're just focusing on cardio, you're just going to be focusing on trying to lose weight, but that's not going to be optimal. You need to incorporate strength training so that your whole physique, everything about your body composition is going to change. You're not going to build muscle just by doing cardio. Like you just won't, right? So for anyone listening to this right now and you feel like, I just want to lose weight, I just want to see the number go down, but you can look at yourself in the mirror and you can look the exact same as DJ said. Like I used to make that mistake myself. Like I was always quote unquote skinny fat, where I did not have a lot of muscle definition. And every single time I looked at myself, despite losing weight, I'd always see the same reflection staring back at me. And I hated it, and I feel like a lot of people could relate to that. So if you don't want to look like just a smaller version of yourself, but instead you want to look like a completely different person, like you're a little bit more toned, you're a little bit more defined, you actually have a physique that you're proud of, then you need to start a strength training. You need to start building muscle. So with that being said, let's do a quick recap. DJ, you want to take it away?
Absolutely. So, guys, the 5 top things, the reasons why you've hit a plateau is number one, you're not tracking your calories or macronutrients appropriately. Number two, you're not getting enough sleep or you're not prioritizing your sleep and recovery. Number three, you're not drinking enough water. Number four, you're chronically stressed and you're not replacing those habits, those behaviors with positive ones. And the last one is, again, focusing on cardio and not prioritizing weight training. And with that being said, guys, remember everything we say means absolutely nothing. Knowledge without implementation is useless. So make sure you take action on this. And if you like more of what you heard, you guys can find Kevin. Where can they find you?
Yes, you can find me on all social media platforms at Vision Fitness, and you can also follow my podcast as well at A Vision Includes You podcast. DJ, where can they find you?
You guys can always find me at Nomadic Fitness on all social media platforms. And you guys can listen to the podcast on all streaming platforms at The Way of the Nomad podcast. And until next time, it's your coach DJ and Coach Vu signing
off. Peace.
Peace. I like that. You know what? Trudy is just a champ there. She's there the whole time. She loved that.
Yes.